Let me be official and call the meeting to order. So we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the August 12th, 2025 Salinas Finance Committee meeting. And we'll now call the meeting to order. Zoom webinar participation is available for members of the public. The Zoom webinar ID and link are available on the posted agenda on the city website. How would you like to call roll?
That's a good question. Councilmember D'Arrigo and De La Rosa are not here. Mayor Donahue?
I am here.
Okay,
All right, well done.
thanks.
All right, if anybody would like to make a general public comment on a specific agenda item, you are encouraged to attend the that's too boilerplate, isn't it? Anyway, you got up to 2 minutes if you're here from the public and want to talk about something that's not on the agenda. Public? Going, gone? Anybody zooming on public? Okay, we're good. All right, Abe, back to you.
Okay, California Government Code 84308, Levine Act. Do any members?
Hold on, Abe.
Sure.
Right now we're in the informational portion of our meeting, so it's not really an official subcommittee meeting. So if Margaret comes, then we can do that.
Okay,
Thank you. Because at this point, no action is being taken.
so then we'll skip the minutes as well right now. Okay.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and jump into information. You're looking for Lisa Murphy. We have found her.
And we're doing the ED work plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she will also do the Chinatown Navigation Center, but yeah.
Am I controlling it from here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Good afternoon, Mayor, City Manager. This is Lisa Murphy, your Assistant City Manager, and today I'm going to present to you our 2-year economic development work plan. But I'd like to make sure that I distinguish this between a strategic plan and a work plan. This is a working document for the division, the newly created division. Eventually, we'll come back with a strategic plan. So the benefits of the 2-year economic development work plan is it's going to outline our roles and our responsibilities for how we're going to move forward in investing in our community, creating economic growth, helping to try to transform Salinas into a vibrant and prosperous community. Let's see, did I do that? Okay. The proposed 2-year work plan sets out a roadmap to establish the foundation for what the division will look like and what are our priorities moving forward. So once we complete hiring of which went out to yesterday, our Deputy Director of Economic Development, we'll be fairly fully staffed to continue the work forward. So that's exciting news. So what I'm going to talk to you about this afternoon is the Economic Development Division, the 5 strategic goals that we've outlined for our 2-year work plan, what the strategies are for each of those goals, what our action items will be, and what our metrics and our accountability measures will be as well. I'm not going to go through each and every detail of what's on these slides, but I'll give you a general overview. So our intention is the creation of the Economic Development Division came forward as of July 1. It moved from the Community Development Department, moved over to the City Manager's Department. It will fall under my position, the Assistant City Manager. We are creating a new position, which the council approved in the budget, the Deputy Director of Economic Development, who will oversee the day-to-day activities and essentially drive the division forward with a number of the different elements that you'll see in the work plan, and as well as the economic development elements and other strategic initiatives that are already in the pipeline. Then, and right now in community development, there is a second position called the business navigator. And this position really helps new businesses in the permitting process, helping them get started, giving them general business advice. So we'll be working very closely with that position, and there's a number of new initiatives that this position will also help us implement. And it is the goal that potentially in the future, although not in this year's budget, is to look at the hiring an economic development analyst. As you know, the city has a number of assets, property. There's a number of different analysis, data crunching, which we intend to do. And we hope that this type of position, if if the data plays out, we will look to expanding the staff if necessary. So we have 5 goals, again, just for in the 2-year framework. These are by no means written in stone, but it's going to give us a work plan to really keep ourselves focused, to continue to strengthen our economy, and support our existing businesses. So the first goal that we've outlined is to support existing businesses. And we want to strengthen our economy by supporting our local businesses that have already invested in our community. So what we want to do is provide resources, foster connections, and reduce barriers to growth for new businesses. And so we have identified our strategy, which is to rebuild a business retention and expansion program to support existing employers in the city of Salinas. And you can see here we have identified 7 immediate actionable items that we can get started and get working on to help us rebuild this business retention program. And again, it's quite wordy, but in general, it starts off with conducting a business survey, which we've already started to undertake. Our college interns that we recently had this summer helped create a survey, which we've just put out, but we're going to continue marketing that and continue to go out and gather business feedback. Creating a business inventory to create a database of local businesses. We are looking at adopting a customer relationship management system. Conducting a lot of outreach is really what we want to do, is how can we better support businesses that want to come to the city? How can we make it easier and streamline the process for them? And how do we help keep them? What are the resources can we partner with to keep businesses here? So business retention is very important. Our second goal is how can we attract new businesses? How can we seek to position ourselves to be the city of choice to come here? What makes us better than others? There's a number of things to attract businesses here. Obviously our agricultural heritage, our proximity to the Silicon Valley, our workforce. We have a number of reasons why businesses should come to our city, but we need to tell them why. And we need to show them all of the amazing opportunities that are happening and the reason we're growing here in the city of Salinas. So there's a number of different things that we can be more proactive in our efforts to reach out and to attract businesses. We have an airport, we have the Salinas Soccer Complex, the Sherwood Hall. We have so many different resources here. And the opportunities are I really actually believe that they're endless. And so we need to take advantage of that. So we've identified a strategy: foster a vibrant local economy by proactively targeting high potential businesses and creating an environment conducive to business creation and expansion. And again, that's the strategy. And below the strategy is a number of actionable items that we want to jump on them and get started, from different types of engagement with our partners, implementing real estate tracking programs, having a website that allows folks and businesses to come in and explore what do we already have to offer, what are the resources that we can provide them to encourage them to come to our city. You'll see one that's this evening, a fun one that will be coming up is our pop-up storefront pilot project called Street Front to Storefront. Again, it's finding ways to create the opportunities to attract businesses to come to Salinas to, as we call it, grow the pie and grow the revenue, to help actually to maintain the quality of life for our residents. And how do we attract people to come visit Salinas? So that's another opportunity there that we are going to be looking at. And how do we do that? Well, our third goal, hopefully, is going to be that, to promote Salinas as a vibrant destination. And how do we do that? How do we market ourselves? How do we reach out to our neighboring communities and encourage folks to come visit us to see the historical significance of the different museums and our heritage, to visit our stores and our amazing food options here. Again, we have many cultural resources, and it's really, we need to brand ourselves. We need to go through a branding effort, really do a social media marketing. We need to redevelop our website. So there's a number of opportunities, And we, again, having so many resources, the Steinbeck Center, the Sherwood Hall, Carr Lake, some of our amazing parks, we need to showcase these opportunities to show that we have a high quality of life here, the public safety element, that this is a safe community to visit. It's fun, it's a fun place to live, it's a fun place to work. So partnering with our other groups, such as the Chamber and a number of other business organizations, I think will help us become more collaborative, working together, moving forward for the city. So we also want to look at convening a monthly meeting with a number of our partners to talk about how this would look and how we'll work together, because there's a number of organizations throughout and nonprofits who have the same goal, but we need to convene and meet together and work at promoting and rebranding really what the city, the positive images, again, that we're safe, vibrant, and a fun place to be. So there's a number of efforts that are underway to start making that happen. Again, utilizing our economic development interns, I want to keep promoting that. They've already started working on a shell outline of what our new website for economic development will look like. So again, another exciting opportunity coming our way. Our fourth goal is to optimize land use and modernize infrastructure. As we know, we can't build without our infrastructure. And we have a number of efforts already underway to invest in those critical infrastructure upgrades. We want to make sure that we are evolving to the economic needs of the community, and that also includes housing and workforce development. Now, while workforce development isn't necessarily listed here, that is part of our future efforts. But in this immediate need right now in this 2-year window, it's not necessarily lined out explicitly, but it is still part of our programming and would fall under this area. The strategy we've identified here is to facilitate the revitalization of opportunity sites by fostering public-private educational partnerships and investing in infrastructure improvements that will support development. One of the key things I think about the Economic Development Division is we're really sort of that central hub that's going to be the coordinator to help move along a number of projects such as the Chinatown revitalization or the Alisal Marketplace or some of our city-owned lots, the airport. There's a number of different partners that we're going to be the central hub to help steer these projects forward, which I think will give it new life to many of these projects. Included in here is hotel development, the working on the Enhanced Infrastructure Finance District, the ITC. So there's a number of amazing opportunities, but we need to start moving those forward, and this is our opportunity to really, again, focus our work and make sure they start moving forward a little more quickly. And finally, our fifth goal is to enhance city services and streamline our processes. We really want to make sure we're delivering efficient, user-friendly city services. I think, and being business-friendly is a very important goal that we need to be sure that we are really driving our efforts towards. We want to make sure that our processes are clear, timely, they align the needs with residents and businesses. So working with our folks in community development, we're going to work together to help simplify, well, here's my strategy that we identified, simplify regulatory procedures, improve customer services, and deploy modern technologies to create a business-friendly environment. What's really important is you can have all these lovely goals and actions and strategies, but if you're not evaluating how they're doing and monitoring your indicators, then it becomes sort of fruitless in a sense. So it's important for us to monitor how we're doing, and we've identified 6 economic development indicators. Of course, these don't just happen overnight or 6 months or a year. They take time. And a few key indicators, there's always more, but looking at our new business license, how many new business licenses are issued annually? Along with that, how many are discontinued? How many businesses do we lose? So monitoring that's very important. Of course, monitoring our TOT revenue, our unemployment rate, our sales tax revenue, and our building permits. Those are just a few of the high-level indicators we would like to do to keep continuing and having a baseline and start tracking how we are doing and be able to report back out. So So in conclusion, again, this is our opportunity to really focus the work of the Economic Development Division, particularly when the new deputy director comes in, hit the ground running, and really focusing our efforts to move forward projects. So already in the works, and how can we support the businesses that are here? How can we attract new businesses? And how can we get visitors to come here and see what an amazing, wonderful community that the city of Salinas is? That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you. I'm going to drag my feet a little bit. I think Margaret's on her way, but
Oh, good.
no, I don't have a question at this time. And so anybody from the public wish to comment on this? Okay, nobody on Zoom. All right, well, I'll come back and check with the committee, which would be me. No, overall, I think it looks good. I mean, that's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot. It's a big work plan, and I kept a lot out. But it's evolving, and we can certainly, it's going to be flexible because things are going to come in, right? And we need to be able to absorb and start working. But this at least gives those goals and those opportunities, like what needs to get done.
You know, no, overall, I think it's great. Important to plant a flag. Liked goal number 5. Liked the metrics, but as you know, goal number 5 speaks to some of the issues that has kept business away from the city. So how do we know? How are we tracking? Because X amount of permits flowing through is not necessarily the indicator. So where do we build in the accountability metrics in terms of the internal tracking that? Because that issue, and it predates this administration, has been a showstopper for a long time.
Sure. I think it's
How do we address that?
yeah. I think what the thought process is, once my team's developed, I have the Economic Development Deputy Director, and already, actually, I think we're already working towards that now with the Community Development Department to see a real internal look. How can we improve our processes? How can we improve our turnaround time? So we are working towards that. I think it's important that we do report back out of what we are doing, and I think from my perspective, is we're still working on what does that look like and how can we move these forward. But it's an internal conversation that I will tell you happens nearly every day, and it's a goal and achievement that we want to make sure that we do not want to be the barrier. We want to be the avenue of success.
Okay, so the internal advocacy and more eyes on the situation that helps move things in that direction.
Yeah, it does. And like Lisa said, we are daily working on it. Projects have a life. So they come in, so we're going to have to measure our responsiveness, how quickly did we get back, how many turns did we do, those sorts of things. So that's important. When you look at kind of where we looking at how we're drafting our letters and comment letters and information we're presenting. So how do we do that so we are much more intentional and not dissuade people from, taking sort of the next step? So that's being looked at as well. And also at the end of the day is county permits is one thing, but how quickly we get through. And the other thing we need to measure is how many contacts that we have that went nowhere and why didn't they go anywhere? So sometimes, we get requests or contacts, people are just kind of looking around what's possible. Other times we might actually dissuade them from taking the next step. So how do we look ourselves in the mirror? I look in the mirror now and have a lot more gray than I used to have, and I'm probably a few more pounds than I used to be. So it's kind of, we have to be willing to look ourselves and be real critical at how to improve. And so building that into the systems, I can tell you that we're having those difficult conversations, and they're not always pleasant. But I think we need to be prepared to report back to the council on kind of what we've done, and this is the first step. So we tell you, for example, that 10 businesses came in and looked at our city, and we were able to move forward 3 or 4, but these are the reasons why we didn't move the other ones forward. Can we learn from that? So it's
Yeah,
a
I
lot
think-
of that
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to do some internal metrics, as the city manager was discussing, is measuring contacts, measuring your turnaround time. What are the common barriers? What feedback surveys? Where did it go wrong? Those are some of the internal metrics that aren't exciting for the community, but those are the things that will help us improve our process, and those are the things we're talking about. And how we can better collaborate amongst departments on projects so things don't slip through the cracks. And we're already meeting weekly, talking about big projects.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think it's a very good professional pillar planning, framing of, because you're establishing something new. On the other
Yeah.
hand, I'm not going to make a comment about my weight. I'll make a comment about habits. It takes 21 days to supposedly change a habit. I think just one of the things I do want to point out in this process is that we have, as we begin this, I think that kind of that first 21 days or the front end of it, we need to understand we've got a real perception barrier, because you start out with local. And so we just need to acknowledge that.
Oh, I agree, yes. And perception is many times doesn't reflect reality either, but there's truth to it as well. So how do we move that forward and change the narrative and be proactive and be transparent and show? It's really, I'm from the old school, learn by doing, right? So you do it, and then that's what the community sees, and then they go, okay, I see change, yeah.
I think it's a good, strong plan gets us moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Margaret, you missed it.
Sorry about that. I had a little medical emergency, so I had to get that taken care of. I apologize for being late, but I did study everything, and I think I concur with what you just said.
All right, there you
Yeah,
go.
perfect.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great,
All
thank
right.
you.
All right, well, Lisa, you're not going anywhere.
So before we go into this part, maybe we can acknowledge that we have a quorum now, and maybe
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
we can read the Levine Act.
Yeah.
Thank you.
okay.
California Government Code 84308, Levine Act. Do any members of the committee have any campaign contributions to disclose related to any item on today's agenda? Councilmember Diorigo,
No?
Mayor Donahue.
No. All
And then
right.
should we do the minutes as well?
Yeah, all right, we'll fall back into the agenda. Yeah, let's, let me get situated here, okay. Yeah, no, that's, all right, okay, so I need a motion to approve the consent agenda in the minutes of June 10. Do I have one?
I motion to approve the minutes of June 10th.
And I will second that, so,
Okay, Councilmember Diorigo,
Yes.
Mayor Donahue.
yep.
Motion passes.
All right, very good. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to consideration. We'll let Lisa take a breather, and we'll go, David, I think we're looking for you on the vehicle leasing program proposal.
Good afternoon. City of Salinas is always looking at ways to improve their fleet. Currently, we have over 400 vehicles in our fleet, ranging in age from 1 year all the way up to 20 years on some of our equipment. But Enterprise has a unique opportunity to lease vehicles and improve the age of our fleet for 188 vehicles that fit within their leasing program. So we were looking at it in terms of, is this a benefit for the city or not? We did hear mixed reactions from different cities, but again, you can never completely get a good read on how it fits with the city without doing some kind of pilot program. So we're looking at possibly doing a 10-vehicle pilot program with leasing. Those 10 vehicles would cost about $105,600 a year. and the actual pricing would be locked in once we sign the agreement, and Enterprise has the opportunity to go to the manufacturers and actually get pricing. This program also allows us to electrify our fleet a little bit quicker. We have state mandates that we have to abide by to electrify our fleet as quickly as possible. So any opportunities there is to buy electrical vehicles, Enterprise can do that for us. So with these 10 vehicles, the only downside we see to this is that we are locking ourselves into these payments forever. You know, we can never take a break like we do for our existing way we purchase. We buy a vehicle and we run it to the wheels fall off. Here we actually have to buy vehicles every 5 years. That's the rotation through it. So we're locking ourselves in long term for this program. If we decide to increase it and we get up to 100 vehicles, we might be in the $1.2 million a year moving forward, which is about what we pay for our fleet now, where we're getting new vehicles. So these things all have to be looked at in terms of, Enterprises give you a presentation and it's going to look, oh yeah, this is great, it's going to save us all this money. And it on paper it does, but we want to make sure it satisfies us as a city that it will actually work, and that's why we're trying to do this pilot program. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Daniel Manning. He's with Enterprise, and he'll give us a presentation on the leasing program.
Great. Thank you for that introduction, David. My name is Daniel Manning. I'm with the Fleet Management Division of Enterprise. I'm joined today by Christy Wilhite, who oversees our government marketing manager for the West Coast. So if we can go ahead and go to page 2, please. I'd like to start by talking about the impacts of a partnership and the reason why cities partners with us. So essentially, looking at the fleet now, it's being negatively impacted as far as budget and operations. We were able to identify that 25% of the fleet is currently over 10 years old. With the age of those vehicles, the resale value dramatically suffers, where we're not able to capture as much equity there. As we all know, when you're able to operate a newer fleet, you're able to reduce not only the fuel costs, but the operational costs, such as maintenance. One challenge that we see often with other cities is when you have an aged fleet, it makes for inconsistent budgeting and uneven purchasing patterns. So just a quick snapshot, as we discussed, the fleet that we're targeting is 188 vehicles. We've identified for these vehicles, the budget is roughly $1.3 million. Average cycle on those vehicles is about 13-year hold, and the average odometer is just over 50,000. In the next portion, the key consideration and objectives. Essentially, we're able to identify $2.359 million in savings over 10 years with our forecast. The way we're able to achieve this is by capitalizing on the resale equity of the vehicles and reducing the vehicle cycle from 12.5 years to 5 years ideally. In doing this, we're going to decrease administrative burdens and downtimes. We also allow for enhanced reporting through our client portal. Enterprise local account teams would be provided to the city of Salinas, who will be coming out for 3 to 4 core meetings a year, making sure that we're providing strategic planning and guidance as fleet experts. By doing this, this would allow us to maintain a refreshed fleet with newer vehicles and newer safety features. We are the fleet management company who's been awarded the Sourcewell contract. So we're able to piggyback on that contract as far as due diligence is concerned. If you can scroll down to the bottom of the recommendation, by partnering with Enterprise, the City of Salinas will be better able to leverage its buying power. So essentially, by shifting to the leasing model, this will allow you to do more with a smaller budget. As it stands today, the fleet is underfunded. We believe that we can reduce the fuel costs by 24% by shifting to newer vehicles that have better technology and better fuel economy. And we also believe that we can almost cut the operational spend in half by maintaining a refreshed fleet. We're able to have a fixed and a budgeted cost for maintenance. As of today, the way the vehicles are being operated, the older they get, the more exposure you have from maintenance. And if we can go on to the next page. This is the fleet statistics for the city of Salinas. So in whole, the vehicle has, depending on the vehicle types, 300, 400, including equipment. Essentially, the fleet size that we're targeting was the 198, and the holding period we established was just over 12 years. And of these vehicles, the average annual mileage is about 5,700. And if you could scroll to the bottom here, the part I would like to focus on is the model year analysis. As you can see, these are the purchasing patterns for the city of Salinas over the last 15 plus years. And we can start at the back end with the vehicles 20 plus years old. There's 38 vehicles in this category. So as you can imagine, vehicles being 20 plus years old, they're not going to have the up-to-date safety features. And then the other item I want to point out is essentially the uneven purchasing patterns. So you can see in years 2020, 2021, purchasing 7 to 10 vehicles, and then the following year, purchasing 50 plus. When you have sporadic purchasing patterns like this, it makes it really difficult to budget for a fleet and to fund the needed acquisitions, as you're not quite sure what you're going to need from year to year. When we're moving to the next page, this is a testimonial for one of our city partners in the city of San Marcos. Essentially, they were able to reduce their fleet costs by 27% by shifting to enterprise. I won't go through the whole article, but I would like to read a quote here by Lisa Fowler, who is in the Public Works Department. She said, Enterprise Lease Management Program has not only alleviated some of the maintenance burdens placed on our lean maintenance staff and budget, it has also provided a level of flexibility that allows my team to promptly address the city's dynamic fleet needs without sacrificing service. So Enterprise, our goal here is to be a partner and to provide that needed flexibility and help leverage the budget as we've been discussing. On the final page, you'll see that 25% of the fleet does have outdated safety features as far as the vehicles. So our goal would be to refresh those vehicles to have the most modern safety features. Also account management, where you would be provided myself, a client strategy manager, and a fleet coordinator as assets for the city to utilize when really alleviating the fleet of any administrative or fleet-related burdens. The last piece I'd like to touch on here is the technology. So essentially, with Enterprise, we're able to provide a consolidated invoice. We can keep track of maintenance utilization, recall information, license and registration, and any customizable alerts the city would like, but essentially providing a dashboard for the fleet where you can tune in and make sure that you're monitoring the health of your fleet, which is technology that many cities don't have prior to partnering with us. And then on the next PDF document, I'm sorry, there's one more page here. So I did include some references that we partner with here locally. And you can see the list there of city partners, as well as references, whether it be King City, Soledad Gonzalez, City Marina, Petaluma, who has done a lot with electrification. So I think they would be a good partner to reach out to as well. And then if we could go to the next document. This is our proposal for year one. We've identified 10 units that need to be replaced. And this is commonly what we see with cities where the fleet department will request a budget, and unfortunately, the city isn't necessarily able to refresh all the vehicles that are needed. But by leveraging a leasing model, we're able to do more with less. And these are 10 vehicles that we're able to acquire that we wouldn't have been able to acquire otherwise. As we all know, you can't purchase 10 vehicles for 110 grand. So being able to leverage that leasing model to electrify the fleet, 7 of these 10 vehicles are electric vehicles, really allows for a creative funding and fleet strategy. I'd like to open it up for questions.
Okay. All right, Margaret?
So, Mr. Jacobs, this is the first time we've actually done a leasing model, correct? We've purchased in the past? Okay. Yeah,
Always purchased vehicles.
Okay, perfect. I think leases, like for an individual like myself, don't make sense, but in this case, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I like the fact that you're doing a pilot so we can test it out and create that relationship and that partnership I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Could you embellish on the word forever?
Yeah, yes, so at some point in time, if this doesn't work for us, what we would have to do is we'd have to buy out our leases on the 10 vehicles. But we are signing up for a lease program that renews every 5 years. So we're replacing those vehicles every 5 years at a fixed cost that we're setting now. That could go up a little bit because the newer vehicle models will go up. So it will probably go up a little bit every time we switch out those vehicles. But we are signing up to pay this amount for those 10 vehicles and switching them out
But
every 5
forever
years.
has a shelf life. Okay. All right, anything from the public? All right, back for final comments?
No final comments.
Okay. So we're just making,
Yeah, you would make a recommendation to the city council, and should you choose to move this forward.
I'm gonna go ahead and make that recommendation, but I'm gonna throw in the caveat. I always am intrigued when staff doesn't make a recommendation, as opposed to we provide direction, which I'm happy to do. But,
Well, again, this was a pilot program. We thought 10 was a good number to go with, but if finance department says, no, we don't want to make that much of an investment in this, we can reduce it, or, hey, this sounds like a good idea, let's increase the number to 15 or 20. We kind of leave that open to the finance
so you're
committee
really
in terms
maybe
of,
looking more direct, and the reason I ask is, because on the surface, saving money, improving quality for our employees, what's not to like, but we're not going to make a recommendation.
No, so,
But I do understand that the direction could be more in the form of,
Yes.
hey, why don't you do 15 instead of 10? But I mean, I would just kind of throw that in. I mean, we have no problems with this, staff recommends. Because sometimes that can be helpful.
Yep.
In fact, it's often helpful.
yes.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, so I'll recommend we move this on to council for approval.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right.
Councilmember DiRigo,
Yes.
Mayor Donahue.
Yep.
Motion passed.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, thank you. I don't have a conflict of interest because I'm an enterprise customer, do I?
No.
Okay, just checking. But I like my points when I get the cars. I like points. All right, Selena, you're up.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council Member, City Manager, Selena Andrews, Finance Director. The item before you is S&P rating update. S&P conducted a periodic review of the city's outstanding leases, lease revenue bonds, and affirmed our ICR, which is our assured credit rating, at AA- and outstanding lease revenue bonds at A+, and revised the outlook to negative due to weaker internal controls and volatility exposure. The rating was affirmed because the city has maintained a healthy general fund reserve position. The city does conservative budget management and financial management policies that reflect budget analysis with realistic assumptions into the future. While the negative outlook reflects S&P's view of the city's internal controls of its enterprise funds, particularly the sanitary sewer fund, as we have brought forward to you and provided updates on, and the city's multi-year forecast projecting operating drawdowns that could further be exacerbated by the city's major tax revenue measure potentially or sunsetting. S&P could lower the ratings if the city is unable to adjust the rates, or if the city experiences increased budgetary pressure because of the challenged of increasing the enterprise funds or the loss of Measure G sales tax revenue. Alternatively, they could raise the ratings if we sustain structural balance and reduce the general fund exposure. What does this mean? This means that we need to improve our budgetary performance and internal controls across all funds. That concludes our presentation. With that, we're available for questions.
All right, Margaret?
Yes, I was just curious, were they specific about which internal controls were considered weak?
It's basically
Just the sewer?
It's basically oversight of the
Okay.
sewer,
Okay,
the sewer fund, correct?
so that was a major issue, yeah. Okay, I'll wait for comments.
Yeah, so I think when they look at the sewer, being that, and we've already discussed it with the Finance Committee and the City Council, when they look at, we haven't adjusted rates in over 10 years, that is considered a not so strong internal control. So either way, if it would have been recommended and not done for a lot of reasons, obviously we had COVID years and a few other things along the way, or if they're not recommended, so they look at all of that, what's been the track record. And the other thing they would look at is there was some emergency repairs of our pump station a few years ago, which really depleted the fund. And I don't think it was communicated back to the city council, and that, this had put us in a much more of a pearl position. So those are the things that they look at when they kind of look at these when they're doing these analysis. What did the city do? Much different picture if the information is being presented, but decisions are being made at the policy level not to move forward for a reason. But when you don't have that, then there's more of a void. So.
I think it's fair to say we inherited this, all of us. So in terms of, so primarily sewage, but did I come across something that, to your credit, you were had tightened up audit procedures also?
That is correct. We are not only looking at this enterprise fund, we're looking at all the funds to ensure that they're all being funded appropriately each year.
And the reason I ask that is because I'm sure we're going to continue to get questions about this, particularly as the 218 proceeds. But knowing the power of Channel 25 and everybody watching this, wouldn't an audit have picked up along the way in the past decade, hey, you're heading for trouble, or not so much, just because it was COVID? And
So a lot of funds are combined within fund. The way audits are performed is they review our financials and whether we're following our own processes. So overall, the general fund has been doing well. We've not expended everything that we appropriated each year for the past few years, and so the auditors are looking at whether we have negative fund balances and what's going on there. So overall, we have been performing well in our fund balance.
no, and that doesn't surprise me. I think, and I certainly understand not wanting to raise things during COVID and recessions and that sort of thing, but I'm just curious. So it's not necessarily the nature of an audit to say, hey, there's a red flag.
No, that is not what the external auditors look at. They look at, that's something that we could be looking at internally, which we currently are.
Yeah, no.
Is if there's any rate covenants across any of our debt, we need to make sure that we are able to maintain whatever rate covenant that is.
Okay. Renee, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so one of the examples, we have a reserve policy, 2.5% for our general fund. Do we have reserve policy for some of our other funds? And so auditors will typically test something, one of our own rules, and see how we're following our own rules. When we don't have a rule and they don't pull the test, then it might not come up. So that's kind of one of the challenges that we have. So as Selena and our finance team is working on tightening those rules that'll come back to the council. We adopt it, and in the future, there'll be something to signal, hey, you're not following your own rule. So that'll show up in the audit letter or something back to the council.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, anyone from the public on this? Anybody want to Zoom on this? All right, Margaret, back for final comments?
Yeah, we've got work to do, obviously, to turn this thing around and move in the right direction, but I have faith in you and your team that we will do that. And we got to get Measure G passed. That's critical. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's really the, a red flag, and it speaks to the importance of that and the sewage issue. So, no, so it's important to get out in front of this, and I'm confident the team's on top of it, so that's important, and and then we're just gonna have to talk about it, because I know there's going to be questions, but I think there are good, solid answers and corrective action.
Thank you.
So, so we're just receiving the report. We don't want to act on it.
Thank you.
Darn it. I'm going to pass 218 all by myself, but apparently I can't. Okay. All right. Let's see. Marina, okay. Now we're going to talk healthcare cost containment. Oh, it's Patricia. Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. City Manager, Mayor, Council Member. My name is Patricia. I'm one of the HR managers here, and I'm here to provide the annual CalPERS health insurance rates and changes. There is no motion required for this item. So this slide shows the 2026 increases by health plan. As you can see, the largest increase is to the Platinum PPO health plan at 13.15% and Blue Shield Access at 11.26%. CalPERS attributes these increases to the continued rise in costs across the healthcare landscape. This slide shows employee enrollment by health plan. We have 68% of employees are enrolled in the PORAC and Platinum health plans, and the remaining 32% elected other health plans or declined health coverage. This chart, it's a little busy, but it shows the different units and their contribution by benefit year. So currently the city contributes up to 90% of the Platinum plan for most units, and 2026 shows some reduction in city contribution and some negotiations that are pending specifically with the public safety units. CalPERS announced that it's eliminating the Blue Shield Trio HMO plan in Monterey County, and they're replacing it with Blue Shield Access Plus in HMO, as just an HMO plan. The members in Trio will transition to Access Plus, and we have about 76 employees that will be impacted by that, and they can choose to stay in the Trio, in the Blue Shield Access plan, or they can opt out into another plan during open enrollment. Trio was initially designed to be a lower cost health plan, but costs in Monterey County are impacting its sustainability. So this shift to the Blue Shield Access Plus plan is expected to promote sustainability and avoid significant premium increases to members, and no network disruption is expected. CalPERS also announced a new pharmacy benefits manager for most plans. CalPERS entered a 5-year contract with CVS Caremark. It was previously Optum Rx for 9 years. CVS put $250 million at risk over the term of the contract for controlling drug costs and improving health for CalPERS members. Most members will not experience any disruption from this transition. Some will experience some formulary changes, but CalPERS and CVS will develop options for impacted members, and they will communicate with those members to help them during that transition. The Salinas Plan recommendation from 2018 recommended a greater cost share with a phased-in approach and a 20% employee contribution by fiscal year 25-26. Its status as of now, PERS Select, Choice, and Care plans were eliminated and replaced with the PERS Gold and Platinum plans in 2023. Employee contributions are currently at various levels. Healthcare increase has been approximately $2 million over the last 3 years. The anticipated health costs for fiscal year 25-26 is $14.9 million, and employee contributions for fiscal year 25-26 are anticipated at $789,000. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Margaret?
If you don't mind, could you go back to the last slide for me, just so I can keep it fresh in my mind?
Sure.
Okay, so over 3 years, $2 million, which, as we all know, healthcare goes up every year. It's just one of the things we have to accept. But then the anticipated is going up in 1 year by 14.9. What's driving that? And
So that is the city's expected costs. So I have the costs over the years here. So for fiscal year 24-25, the city contributed $14.3 million.
okay.
23-24, it was $14 million, and 22-23, it was $12.8. So over the course of those years, it increased by that much.
Okay, so this is pretty common for what we've been experiencing.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, no questions at the moment. All right, anything from the public? Any Zoom questions? There are none. All right. Back to Margaret.
No comments at this time, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, and this was just an information. Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, thank you. All right. Yeah. Lisa, you're back. Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Manager, and Council Member. Keishla Lopez, Homeless Services Manager. So today, I unfortunately don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I will briefly go over essentially a recommended action is to receive feedback and direction regarding the Chinatown Navigation Center. So community development came to City Council in May to present the information regarding the shortfall for the Chinatown Navigation Center. And so the Chinatown Navigation Center, the city has been funding the operations since March of 2020. The city primarily funds these services through various grants and general fund. The operational cost is around $2.5 million to keep the facility operational. As mentioned, we came back in the month of May to inform you all that we are in a $1.5 million shortfall for these operations. Per council's direction, we went ahead and we contacted different nonprofit partners, the Continuum of Care of Monterey County and San Benito County, as well as the County of Monterey, to elicit different options for potential ongoing funding to continue the Chinatown Navigation Center. In addition, as part of this, the Community Homeless Solutions has also revised their budget to decrease their monthly expenses by $20,000. So their monthly expenses are around $146,000 per month. The COC will be presenting to Leadership Council, I believe this upcoming council meeting on the 27th for a potential of $200,000 that they can contribute to the shortfall that we have. And it will be voted by Leadership Council on whether that is approved on the 27th. And so today, staff is requesting the Finance Committee to consider the following options. We are in a moment where if we don't identify any additional funding, we need guidance on how to go ahead and proceed with the closure of the Chinatown Navigation Center. The current funding will get us through November 30th, 2025, which is a little bit of a shift because in the previous presentation, it was only going to get us until October 31st. So given some of those budget revisions, we were able to extend it one additional month. The second option is if the continuum of care provides $200,000 to the city to support the operations, the city is requesting $387,000 from general funds, specifically the fund balance. If the COC does not provide the $200,000 that we are requesting, then we are requesting the full allocation of $587,000 to get us through weather inclement, which was one of the council's concerns for the city of Salinas. That concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions?
Margaret?
Well, obviously, this is a really complex issue, right? Where are these, I think there's 50 spots available for that program. Where are those 50 people going to be relocated? Do we have an answer to that, what their options are?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. So in some of these discussions, we have been partnering with the continuum of care, essentially to prioritize the coordinated entry. It is the access point for services through the continuum of care, where the Chinatown Navigation Center program participants would get priority for any available PSH, rapid rehousing projects through the continuum of care. So that's one option. Through the partnership with the county and the Share Center, we are also exploring transitioning some clients from the Navigation Center to the Share Center when beds become available, so also prioritizing that transition. And then in addition to that, because there's multiple steps, the housing navigators will also be working on finding these program participants long-term permanent housing solutions.
So I guess I'm assuming that these other facilities have capacity where they can be relocated.
It changes on a month-to-month basis. We
Okay.
do have a couple of months, but with the prioritization, that means that this program will be prioritized over the entire continuum of care eligible participants. As anybody entering coordinated care, CNC would take the priority over everyone else.
Okay, so in 2 weeks, we'll know whether Continuum of Care is going to be able to fund us, and at that point, we'll have a bit better picture, I think. The $587,000 is terrifying to me. That's a lot of money. So what is our decision-making today as far as that goes? What do you need from the Finance Committee today?
Well, I think Keisha put out, we need some direction on if we get the 200,000, if the CNC does provide the 200,000, would the city be willing to provide the rest? The 387, it takes us through the inclement weather. It doesn't take us to the end of the fiscal year, but it adds a few more months, correct?
Yes, through weather inclement.
So that would, which was one of the priorities. So if that's the case, or we're not going to redirect the funding, so we would move forward and the team would move forward with the closure, which it's an additional month now, so it's better than it was before, but it's not,
Yes.
still not great. Or would you finance the 500, would you recommend financing the full amount, which is over 500,000? We'll have a better sense of fund balance. I think, Abe, if you can help me out by, we'll have a better sense by when? December, right?
Yeah, when the audit is complete.
Yeah, so it's kind of a timing thing, but the team needs some direction, so we'll have to bring this question to the council. Now, if the Finance Committee wants to take this to the full council, have that conversation before deciding, that's also okay. You don't, if you want the entire council to kind of weigh in on this, but
Yeah.
you can certainly have a recommendation, or you can say, we've considered these options, and you give it a degree of sense of priority or whatever. It's going to be difficult. We'll have a better sense of our fund balance in December, but it's still the timing doesn't quite work when you
Right.
have to make this decision.
Okay, thank you for the clarity. I'm just thinking because there's only the mayor and myself here present, I feel that we might want a little bit bigger audience to chime in on that, because it's a significant conversation.
Yeah. The question I would have, and we're, I think, appropriately concerned about inclement weather, what was the vacancy rate last year?
I'm sorry, I couldn't really hear you that well.
And we were concerned about inclement weather and trying to extend things through. Last year, through the winter, was it 100% occupancy?
I need to confirm the numbers. I don't have that information available to me right now, but what I do remember from the last weather inclement is that there were additional beds put into the emergency shelters to cover for capacity. So I do believe that they were 100% during that time, because there was additional cots provided from the county.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's my only question. Public comment? Zoom? Back to us.
Yeah, so this would come back to the council in September, because correct? Some one of the council meetings in September?
I was going to do that August meeting, but you go to first meeting in September.
Okay, so, yeah, we can just time it, but either the next meeting this month or in September. But at that point, we would need some clear direction of what we're going to do.
That is correct.
Well, I do think the council would want the benefit of knowing what happens on the 27th, is it? Yeah, so that throws it to the September 9th meeting, I would think.
Yeah.
So I think one of the considerations is, I think the leadership council was hoping we would have some sort of answer before so our council meeting is on Tuesday and theirs is on Wednesday. So they're also hoping to get an answer from us.
So we're interested in a couple 100,000.
Yes.
So if they give a couple 100,000, that, what, extends to December, extends to January?
The options I was going to put forward to is similarly worded, so that you could take several different actions. One, the first action was, no, we just know we're not going to fund it. We're going to close. Let's close at the end of November. Alternate recommendation number 2 was a two-parter. It's a little bit confusing. It was a two-parter that you would, the option would be to move to fund, if the COC funded 200,000, the council would approve the delta, the 387. If the COC did not approve the 200,000, then council would go ahead and approve the full 587,000 to keep it open through March. So that's why it came before. I was actually going to have it come before. So either you say, no, we're closing, and the COC would say, okay, or you had the option of choice number 2.
And so when you think about it, this is not by any stretch an easy decision. But if you single that we're going to fund the full amount, one incentive exists to fund the remaining amount. If we single we're going to fund the 389 with the 200,000, in the event that the CAC they decide not to fund the 200,000, we can always bring it back to the council and say, do you want us to fund the remaining 200,000? Or you tell us, no, we're not going to fund any of it, and we move forward with the closure. So to me, while the funding the full amount is on the table, I probably wouldn't suggest that, just because we're signaling to then what's the point? What incentive do they have to fund the 200,000? Because there's needs everywhere, and we're trying to say this is sort of important. So, I mean, I think that's sort of the decision here. And you're going to sit on that, so you'll be weighing in on that recommendation, Mayor.
On the 27th?
On the 27th.
Yeah. And there's no guarantee that 200,000 they would steer our way. It does give us, it just extends, obviously you understand, it extends the closure date, but the center's closing because the funding is no longer available. So it's just, you're prolonging it, but the decision to close is there, but giving the opportunity through the inclement weather to get through that, which I think is important too for the COC to think about how were they going to fund the winter shelter operations as well.
Okay, that's very helpful, that it's going to close regardless. So, yeah, I just think that's all coming from the general fund, right? These dollars that have not been budgeted?
No,
Are they
it's a
budgeted?
combination. It was a
Okay.
combination of grant funds and general fund dollars, but both are done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know where we're going to come up with.
Because the overall operating
That big of a
cost is,
number.
is 2.5 million to operate the center.
Okay.
So really the decision is, do we want to put it on the agenda on the 26th?
And as the city manager suggests, if you have the opportunity, you could wait till in September, or fund just the 387, the 387 piece, and see if they'll come back with the 200. If they don't, we'd come back to you again and ask for the additional.
I mean, I think part of the decision and part of the council concern was, can we get through this inclement weather? The center is going to close, but by next year, we would have better options on what to do during inclement weather, or different options, maybe not better, but different options. Right now, the fact that we have this center available, it's here already, right? So it buys us another few months, and it gives the team not an easy problem to try to come up with solutions, but it gives the team a little bit more time to prepare for next year. Short of that, there's no more funding available, and nor would I expect any more funding available from the federal government or maybe the local government, at least not for this. And I think it's shifting. The other thing is we haven't fully seen the shifting and what's going to happen in the future, right? So it's hard to tell you, yes, we're going to commit $2.5 million next year, or the remaining portion for the rest of the year.
Well, I think as a practical matter, I mean, I agree with Margaret. We would want to get this to the council, so that's just a matter of timing, so to weigh in. And it just sounds like sooner is better than later on.
At least you could consider the 387, that particular piece of it, and see if they contribute the additional 200,000. If they don't, then the 387 at least gets us through January. I can't recall. Yeah, through January.
Well, I think, Margaret, it's just a matter of what meeting we want to put it on.
Yeah, I think we should bring it up as soon as possible. I mean, even the 387, I think, is daunting for us, given our constraints and things that are coming at us. So I'm really uncomfortable just saying, yeah, we'll just throw that in there.
Yeah, well,
That's my feeling.
it sounds like sooner rather than later,
Yeah.
even though we have a very full agenda on the 26th.
Exactly, we'll just add it to it.
We'll just add it to it.
And know that the team is working right now, because the closure is inevitable. They are working on placements now.
Right, well, that's kind of my understanding, is you somewhat have to be in motion already, regardless of, yeah.
That's right.
All right, so we'll agendize it for the 26th.
So August 26th. See you back on the 26th. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, I think we might be adjourned. I know I'm leaving, so. All right, but we're going to come back at 4 because we've had so much fun. Good. Thank you, everyone, for your presentations.